I'm from a little town in northern Louisiana, Rouge, Louisiana. I was a programmer on Ford Pi computers on the space shuttle.
I believe that leading a purposeful life is the key to success.
So I want to know how things work, why they work, but at the end of the day, I want to make them better.
My name is Dianne Andrews. The name of the show is Dianne Andrews in Black and White.
This is a story about the Ku Klux Klan, and specifically the Silver Dollar Group, which I had never heard of, and I'm from Louisiana.
Black and white are the two big races, race relations in America, but there's also the black and white of any issue. I like to show the black of it, the white of it, and I learn and I change my attitudes and come closer to the middle myself a lot of times.
A month ago, our president said that ISIS was a JV team. And I think the JV team that just killed people in Canada and the JV team that is causing a lot of other things to go on, which was 800 people when we left Iraq, is now 80,000 people in 3 years.
I've been doing the show 2.5 years. I've done almost 90 episodes. And I go back to some of the episodes where I talked about ISIS is not a JV team.
People don't realize how close now ISIS is in territory to Europe. We're doing a show today about visas, about terrorism in and out of America.
Why did we leave when they asked for 10,000 troops to stay in Iraq? And maybe ISIS wouldn't have grown the way ISIS did grow in the last 6 years. And maybe they wouldn't be in 35 countries today.
We are taped here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but usually in a studio. But I'm out in the community because of this very serious situation in Baton Rouge and around the country. Violence does not beget violence. Alton Sterling, a man who was here at Triple S convenience store owned by Abdullah Muflai, was shot down and killed by 2 Baton Rouge police officers. Now, I'm not saying who was right or wrong, but I'm just saying what happened in this situation.
I think there are bad apples in every line of work, in every industry, but we have to take everything as a case-by-case basis.
People are not born to be prejudiced or to think they're better, whether it's a white slave owner or whether it's an ISIS lord. You're going to see on the screen today something called the caste system. Now, I see a lot of similarities in the caste system from India versus how blacks were treated after slavery. As you all probably know, last year there were over 1,000 murders by policemen in America. 258 were black, 570 were white men. And those are figures that a lot of black people are not aware of. 8,000 blacks were killed by each other. So do you all plan to get out into the community and help in the black? I say Black Lives Matter. All lives matter, but Black lives better matter first to black people. This guy, Eric Garner, who is not dead, helped break up. And I know that he did not comply when they told him they were arresting him for selling Lucy cigarettes, which even Bill O'Reilly said is a stupid law, but I know police have to abide by the law, and so should citizens. But I think it was police brutality, the way they held his head down, and when he said, "I can't breathe," not letting him up.
I do shows on the Klan. And I've tried to get David Duke to come on my show. I think that the more people, left and right, yin and yang, come to the middle, the more and the better the society will be. My father was an agnostic. My mother was a Baptist at first, then Pentecostal. My neighbor to the left was Seventh-day Adventist. Who ever heard of Seventh-day Adventists, right? But I didn't know. I used to go over there and go to church on Saturdays. I didn't think it was anything strange. The neighbor to the right was Catholic, so those children would go to school with their little uniforms on. On the other side of them was an atheist. And on the other side of that person was Jehovah's Witness, and then was a Baptist church. So I grew up around every religion within 10 homes in a little bitty town called Rouge, Louisiana. So I think that gave me a perspective of tolerance. There are 2.2 billion Christians. There are 1.7 billion Muslims. That's why when somebody says something about Muslims being terrorists, I don't think they're talking about 1.7 billion people who are all terrorists. In every, whether it's a police force, whether it's a talk show host, or whether it's a reverend, they're bad people who take advantage of a situation sometimes. Right. You'd have to admit that there are some, I'm not asking you to give names, but everyone's not perfect in being a minister. Would you agree with that, Dr. Riley? I never looked down or thought different about people who were different. I wanted to find out what is this difference. Have you ever looked at other religions to see
Is there anything out here, I believe, that may be different than what I was taught?
You know, as in Dianne Andrews, I've done atheist, I've done Hindu, I tried to do Jehovah's Witness, but they won't come on television. I also tried to do Seventh-day Adventist, they won't come. But I've done Pentecostal, Catholic. The only major religion I haven't done is Buddha. I believe everyone should love this country. It is the greatest in the world. And I believe that if you're able-bodied and able-minded, you should have a job in this country. You know, Bill Clinton passed the NAFTA, where a lot of manufacturing has gone down in the 1990s and still is, because again, the labor is cheaper in Mexico than it is in America. I'm a big person of work. Get paid for what you do, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, woman, or man.
Gaddafi was killed in 2011 in Benghazi in Libya. And in 2012 was when the Benghazi incident happened, September 2012.
Now, do I like everything anybody says or that Donald Trump says or everything he's done? The answer is no. Did I like everything Obama did? The answer is no. Clinton, Bush, no one likes everything that you do. But when he's talking about bringing business back to this country, when you see coal miners out of work and I see them say, we don't want a handout. We want a job. We want to get up in the morning and feel good. When you look at Kentucky, in those areas, they look like Afghanistan. It looks like they've been bombed. I think when I look at that, I think that's the first thing. Instead of saying, how do I expand the government? I believe in smaller government at the federal level. Let the states decide more of what they want. And I think that's the way the constitutionalists wrote it.
All politics is local.
That's right.
My best friend from Houston, Texas, always told me, and still does, that I want to save the world. And I guess I have my own forum now to try to make that happen.
How do we teach a little girl her self-worth that you don't go and have sex with a boy at 12 years old unprotected? I think this show is very inspirational because there are so many people, millions of people are on opiates. And a lot of them start from pills, whether they had an accident or peers, they're easy to get on the street. How a cultural preparedness can save you and your family from disasters. And that means all disasters, from terrorism to floods, to hurricanes, tornadoes, anything you have a warning. Like a tornado may come, you don't have a warning, but you should be prepared, right? Human trafficking consists of a $150 billion industry, and that is labor, which is 50 billion of it, and 100 billion of it would be the sex part of the sex trafficking. You know, water is the #1 thing that we need in the world, right? And it's underprivileged in so many other places. Bad as we may think Flint or St. Joseph or Phoenix or Jackson are, there's sewage running through Haiti.
I'm a truth teller, is what I try to do.
So do you remember when you were old enough to remember 5 or 6 or 7 and saying, and looking at the maps and saying, I want to go to Mars? You just had this feeling. What do you know what made this happen?
I like to investigate. My undergrad degree is mathematics, and I have an MBA. So 2 + 2 has to equal 4 to me. Some things I hear that I don't believe, I want to find out.
Zika in 1947 was first discovered or seen or heard of and named after the Zika forest in Uganda, Africa in 1947. Then it was dormant for many years and then reemerged in South Pacific. Now it is called a pandemic, which means it's spreading around the world. I saw this as a little girl growing up in a little town, Rouge, Louisiana. And they said if everyone lit just one little candle, what a bright world this would be. You can imagine the illumination, and what that's not, it's not just the light of the candle. It's about opening your heart. It's about helping other people, because the more you help, the more you give.
I heard Anderson Cooper talk one time. You know, he's been to Congo. He travels all over trying to make the world better, but and I guess he was a little depressed. His brother had committed suicide. He said, what have I really done to help the world? So hopefully if I change one person, I help one person, I've helped change the world. When I look at everything that I have learned myself, and that's another thing I like about the show, I learn.
I see some things that I could have done better. I see some things that I learn about the world and about how other people are affected by various situations. So it makes me better.
I majored in mathematics, undergrad, up at Southern University, and I'm in pure math. I've got, 7 courses of calculus. I've got 90 hours of mathematics. And I was a programmer on 4 Pi computers on the space shuttle.
My mother was the strongest person I've ever met. She was more resilient than her doctor said than any patient he ever had. When I was in freshman in college, My mother got hit by a car walking down the street about a month and a half after my father died. So that was a lot for a person to take. And when I walked into her room, the first thing she told me was, Dianne, go back to college, I'm okay. My mother and father, especially my mother, always made me know that I could do anything that I wanted to do. So that's where I get my strength from. I've always had the desire and the determination to fulfill what my dreams were. I've written 2 books. I do motivational calendars. Every year I've written 500 motivational quotes. And my favorite is, happiness is, after everything you've tried, finding a place where there's love inside. Because at the end, that's what we're all looking for, is love. Dianne Andrews in Black and White is a ministry for me. It is a passion to help the world. But at the end of the day, you make the decision on what your belief will be. It may not change what you believe in, but hopefully it shows you a different point of view.